Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com. Photo, video, digital media production. Today we are discussing a classic. I think it's gonna say that I'm gonna go ahead and say it that 2022 continues to impress me as one of the most original years for, or one of the most prolific years for original cinema. I think that I can already go ahead and say that Nope, of directed by Jordan Peele, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Kiki Palmer, Stephen Yun, is going to more than likely be in my top 10 of the year. Nope is a 2022 American science fiction horror film written and directed by and produced by Jordan Peele under his Monkey Paw Productions banner. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, Kiki Palmer, Stephen Yun, Michael Wincott, Brandon Pereira, and follows two ranch-owning siblings who attempt to capture evidence of some interesting, crazy behavior happening in the sky. So I don't really want to talk about too much of the story yet, because I think that this is one of those films that really are much more impactful with the less you see going in. Like, I would recommend, don't look at the trailer, don't look at the marketing, don't look at any of it. Jordan Peele already has one of those names, kind of like a up there with like a Tarantino or a Christopher Nolan, that if you see his name on a film and you've correlated it with some of the most interesting, thought-provoking work that has been produced in the last 10 years, that Jordan Peele's name is without a doubt a name that is going to draw you directly to the theater. So I think that should go ahead and tell you right now to go see the movie, mostly because not only is it that much more thought-provoking, but it's a piece of cinema that makes you think, it makes you horrified, it makes you laugh. Maybe some people might cry. I'd say maybe the only critique of the movie is that I wasn't super emotionally involved with these characters. But with saying that, I absolutely enjoyed my time watching this. It's the cinematographer that has worked a lot with Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan actually directed the movies um, Interstellar, Dunkirk, and Tenet with this cinematographer, Hoyt van Hoytema. And uh, I believe that's how you say it. He's a cinematographer from Switzerland. But I've always been, ever since, I think maybe, what was the movie? Okay, so Ad Astra, he also was a cinematographer for that. Spectre, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, The Fighter 2010. Really like the cinematography on that as well. He's just a cinematographer that I like following and seeing his work put on the big screen. The reason that I say go watch this on the big screen is because it looks and sounds like $1,000,000. I mean, the sounds are terrifying. The whirlwind, the craziness that's happening in this movie. It's such an experience, and somewhat of a spectacle, which actually kind of correlates to how this movie is tonally themed. So Peele officially announced his then untitled third directorial film in November 2019. Palmer and Kaluuya joined in February 2020, with Yun being set cast the next month. And Peele revealed the title July 2021. Filming took place during fall 2021 and northern LA County, wrapping in November. The title was rumored to be an acronym for Not of Planet Earth. And we're going to start talking a little bit more about um, the synopsis for this movie. So if you don't want to know anything about this movie, I'm not going to talk about spoilers yet, but there will be a spoiler section and a larger spoiler section for Patreon section. But um, without, if you don't want to know anything about this movie, go ahead and see it. Totally recommend it. Looks like $1 million, sounds like $1 million. It's not perfect, but it's thought provoking enough that I think you're going to really enjoy it. Give it 8 out of 10. Let's continue to with the synopsis. Okay, so Nope was an acronym for Not of Planet Earth or Not Our Planet Earth, based on the movie poster. But Peel later revealed that the title refers to the reaction he had hoped to elicit from audiences, which I can attest to. Nope premiered at the TLC Chinese Theater in LA on July 18th, 2022, and was released in the United States on July 22nd, 2022 by Universal Pictures. It has grossed $98 million and was praised for its originality, ambition, performances, cinematography, and direction, although the screenplay polarized some critics. Edited by Nicholas Mansour, music by Michael Abels, um, same guy who's done the music on his previous films. I believe he worked on Us, and he also worked on Get Out as well. And so that's why this movie looks and very much feels very similar to his other films as well. Um, if you ask me, I think that some people thought that Us and Get Out was taking place in the same world, which possibly. I was originally going into this movie not even thinking about that, but the more I think about it, I'm like, maybe it could. Um, has a running time of 131 minutes. It is on a budget of $68 million, which we don't get too many of those these days. It's normally like a lower budget of like 30 million, which is basically nothing these days, all the way up to like 100 million, all the way past to 150. There's very few of these types of movies that are just like 50, $60 million these days because they don't believe in them a lot. I think most of them are going to streaming, but you don't put Jordan Peele's Hoyt Van Hoytema's cinematography straight to streaming. This is a beautiful ass film. Um, yeah, I would honestly go back to watch it just for the cinematography and the visuals and technicals alone. But continuing on. Let me see if there's anything else we want to talk about. I think that's about all we can talk about from the behind the scenes perspective. I really didn't do too much research into how much they had released with the information of the only thing I've seen promoted about this is like one trailer, and I was like, this is showing way too much. Once again, you don't need to show me all of this. Just show me one or two creepy scenes and tell me it's Jordan Peele and I'm there. I don't show me the whole third act of what's going on. I think there's some of the best scenes shown out of context in the marketing. So I would totally recommend going into this cold. So you know who's in it, you know who directed it, you know who's in front of the camera, um, you know who's behind the camera, but let's kind of get a little bit more into the nitty gritty details of Nope 2022. All right, so we are getting ready to get into the plot of Nope. And for everyone that wants the full review, be sure to check out LuckyDogPodcast.com or Patreon.com/LuckyDogPodcast, where you'll be able to listen to the full review early before anybody else, as well as in full. You're going to be getting a condensed review on YouTube and other platforms as well. So be sure to go to LuckyDogPodcast.com for all the full library that you can find there. But again, thank you for thumbs upping. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching Look It All Podcast. And if you're pausing here, then please come on back and you'll be able to listen to the full spoiler section with everybody. Thank you. Take it easy and let's get into the plot. As always, and maybe a little bit of coffee couldn't hurt to, kind of get this derby going, since we're got some horses in this. So the movie Nope really did show way too much, in my opinion, for the marketing of this trailer. It was like they show people being sucked into the air, and I'm pretty sure they allude to there being UFOs and whatnot. So I was like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know anything about this. I was like, I had heard in other podcasts that's what was going on, but hadn't seen any visuals. So if I only hear a podcast talking about a movie, and they tell me about it, it's not as bad as if I'm seeing the actual visual, because I'm like, I'll be sitting there waiting for the jump scare to happen or something like that, or the something in the sky to show up or something. I'm just kind of like very conscious of like the visuals happening on marketing and the trailers of movies, because I'll be like, oh, I can't wait for this explosion to happen, or this car wreck, or this guy to punch this guy in a funny way, or something, something of that nature. So let's get into the plot of Nope 2022. And noting that the movie does have what feels like three or four openings. I know it's gonna give me in the synopsis right here, the plot of exactly how everything opened, but it feels like there's like three different openings. It starts first with, "I will cast abominable filth upon you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle." Nathan 3:6 is the Bible verse that opens the film. Um, so it also includes, or sorry, it begins like, "In 1998, on the soundstage for the sitcom Gordy's Home, the titular chimpanzee animal actor attacks and maims three of its co stars after being startled by the pop of a helium balloon. The show's youngest actor, Ricky Jupe Park, hides under a table and is unharmed, though traumatized by the experience. The chimp finds Jupe and extends his hand for a fist bump just before being shot by the authorities. And this is kind of also told a little bit out of order as well, because the fist pump and actually seeing all of this happen in quote unquote real time, seeing it happen before he attacks, because I think we're only shown post attack at the very beginning. So that's basically everything that happens. This monkey goes crazy, attacks this little girl, everyone on set, the trainer. He's like, Gordy, down. He's like, Gordy, you better take it easy. And that chimp is like, he just basically is going after everybody in the studio. We have a really slow panning shot within the Gordy's flashback, and it's all from the perspective of young Jupe, and it's very slow and ominous a little bit, and it's got like the sound stage where everybody's supposed to be, but apparently I think they've all been cleared out, um or something's happened, because the light is off for like the time that the monkey is going crazy. And the monkey comes up to young Jupe and is going to do the super explosion fist bump. Sorry, where's the camera? Super explosion fist bump. And yeah, the authorities say boom. I mean, don't I wouldn't exactly blame the monkey in this scenario, but I would be scared out of my fucking mind for damn monkey going around ripping people's faces off and whatnot. um but yeah, so there's like this tone of it's like animal cruelty that is kind of shown a little bit, like the mistreatment of animals and whatnot is kind of a big theme in this movie as well. This movie also starts off with this animated GIF, kind of, it's not a GIF, but it's the first motion picture, I believe. And it was, I believe, of Edward Muybridge, Animals Locomotion, which was um it's just like a horse moving. It's like several pictures put together to make like the first piece of what is it used as an illustration of the very first assembly of photographs used to create a motion picture. And so, Jordan Peele is kind of like pointing the spotlight back at the individuals that such as Edward Muybridge being the first black man on a horse to be shown basically on video, and how majority of people don't remember this this fact. It's kind of been kind of washed away as the almost colonizing the idea of only white men were on were cowboys and on horses, and the ones that were quote unquote remembered. And I think that Jordan Peele is saying, after everything that's happened in the last 100 years or something like that, over 100 years, remember what the first, where all this was originated in. And it did come from uh, uh, cinema, coming from a black actor, I guess, if you really want to boil it down. It was a black man that was on the video first, and that's a really cool fact. I mean, I had no idea. I think I had heard that a long time ago, but this really kind of like cements it in my mind. It's like, oh yeah, this is pretty crazy. That fact. I think that's kind of like that goes down with the million other things that were given to not just white people, but people of other races taking from the black culture and not giving them credit. I think that's kind of the thematic um, undertones here. It's not just remembering who was the first on on uh, on film, but that's kind of where it is alluding to in a way. And so I think that also ties into how the Bible verse is tied into this as well. So yeah, in present day ranch owner Otis Hayward Sr., this is one of the actors I didn't mention, and he was in the trailer, but I didn't want to mention it if anyone didn't see the trailer. Was Keith David plays Otis Hayward Sr. I was like, this is a big ass name. I mean, if you see Jordan Peele's name on it, then you should know that he has the pull to bring someone like a Keith David. But this is like a very small, basically a cameo, and it's he does an excellent job with it. Ranch owner Otis Hayward Sr. Trains and handles horses for film and television productions. When he is killed by a nickel through the eye that falls inexplicably from the sky, his children, Otis O.J. Haywood Jr., played by Daniel Kaluuya, and Emerald M. Hayward, inherit the ranch. OJ tries to keep the business afloat and maintain his father's legacy despite a reserved attitude, while M seeks fame and fortune in Hollywood. The Haywards claim that the unnamed jockey, Edward Muybridge, very first, the what I just mentioned, the first man on creating on a motion picture, was their ancestor. So I think it's a fictional fact in the story of this that they are like, yes, that was our great grandfather or something like that, which is a cool connection to have um, in the industry, especially since they are working in the industry. So 6 months later, while filming a commercial with prominent cinematographer, see, this is like the third intro. It's like we have an intro to the the Gordy storyline with Jupe, and then we have another introduction with Otis Hayward Sr., and then a time jump. So it's like there's a lot of openings for this 2 hour movie. 6 months later, while filming a commercial with prominent cinematographer Antlers Hoist, one of the horses reacts violently when the crew startles it, puts a damn mirror in front of the horse's face. Like, are you an idiot? I was like, you got to be a dumb sack. And I was waiting so much. I mean, everybody was, for some reason, I was just like, all right, this horse is going to definitely kick somebody in the face, and it's going to be their fault. I could just feel it on set. So, and I gotta say that I don't think Gordy was shown in the majority of the trailers. I think that Gordy was very much held back as part of the story, but I could be wrong. They might have shown Gordy in later cuts of the trailer. Do you find that interesting? So the Haywoods are fired from the project, and the ranch's financial woes force OJ to sell horses to a grown up Jupe, who has moved nearby and set up Jupiter's Claim, a small Western theme park where he exploits his story of the Gordy's Home Massacre for profit. OJ periodically sells horses to Jupe, but this time Jupe offers to buy the ranch from the Haywoods. That night, M encourages OJ to sell the ranch and recalls resenting their father's broken promise to let her train her own horse. The Haywoods notice their home's electricity fluctuating and their horses vanishing and violently reacting to an unknown presence. They discover an unidentified flying object, a UFO, shaped like a flying saucer that has been devouring their horses and then spitting out inorganic matter, which caused their father's death. The siblings decide to document the evidence of the UFO's existence, believing selling a picture, quote unquote, the Oprah shot, would make them rich and famous, and recruit Fry's. Like Fry's is like Best Buy or something like that, or a tech Walmart or a Radio Shack for back in the day. Fry's electronics employee, I think it's only in California from what I heard. Fry's electric employee and UFO enthusiast Angel Torres to set up surveillance cameras. Electrical interference from the UFO and a praying mantis on one of the cameras prevent them from getting clear footage, but Angel notices a nearby cloud that never moves. They deduce that it is the UFO's hiding space. So that's a lot that's happened in that last paragraph or two, but I gotta say that the introduction to the missing horses, the introduction to how the stuff is almost ingested in this like UFO and then spit back out like violently. I was floored. The creation and the sound design and the look and the feel and everything about it. I was here for it. I was scared out of my pants, just like holy shit, this is fucking insane. I've seen maybe 15 horror films in the past like 2 or 3 months, and this is by far the most uncomfortable to watch. I watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched all of the Friday the 13th, The Ring. I watched Insidious. I watched just a whole bunch of horror films. None of them made me feel as uncomfortable as this movie has. I was like, this is horrifying. It's like they're being ingested by a vacuum cleaner that basically has a blender inside. It's just like the scariest thing I've seen in a very long time, and uncomfortable thing because it feels kind of like this organic matter. It doesn't feel just like it's all metally and uh, so, sleek and metal and stuff like that. It feels like an organic piece of material or something. When you see the inside and you hear the inside and the screams of the horses and the screams of the people, it's like this is terrible. This is terrible, in the best way, like horrifying. Um, so yeah, the sound design is absolutely that is out of this world. So yeah, the Jupe announces a live show in Jupiter's Claim where he plans to lure out the UFO in front of a paying audience. He is revealed to have been feeding it with the Haywood's horses for months. The UFO arrives, but devours Jupe, his family, the attending employees, and the audience. This is a horrifying sequence. Just let me kind of rewind. First of all, the look, the uneasiness of this entire scene is real. As like the Jordan Peele may not have 100% in the story, but he has 100% in the suspense. I think the suspense of his films are always very much uh, super eerie, super weird, just makes you uncomfortable as hell. It's like an experience that you just have to experience, as with a whole bunch of people. It's just like this is, you can feel the tenseness in the room. So, with saying that, having this like little monologue speech that Jupe gives right before, get ready to witness the spectacle and stuff like that. Like the whole movie is about being obsessed with spectacle, being kind of overcome with spectacle, and not being able to witness something amazing, but also being obsessed with it, like how the culture is obsessed with you know watching short TikTok videos, or how the culture is obsessed with certain TV or something like that. This would be, we are obsessed with looking at this spaceship, and if the rules that we find out by Daniel Kaluuya, which are kind of conveniently told. He's just like, oh, if you don't look at it, it ain't gonna get you. It's like, I'm not really sure I got that. I understood how he came to that logic, but I'm still like, okay, that's the rules they're gonna play by. And so, what is Stephen Young's character Jupe says, witness a spectacle, and everyone's looking up, like, oh, they are like witnessing the thing they've never seen before, and they think that this horse is going to get snatched. Literally, they all get snatched, like bzzz, like fucking the scariest shit. It's like being on the inside of a tornado, and then at the end is a blender or blender body or something like that, and you hear the people screaming. And when the UFO is going all around, all you hear is people screaming, and it is disturbing. It is like they're being ingested by like an animal of some sort. And when the UFO is done with all of the ingestion, it just sits there, like hovers over their house at one point, and just delivers all of it just dumps all the blood, and dumps all of the inorganic matter all over the place, all over their house, all over everything. And it's horrifying. I gotta say that was a very uncomfortable scene, but like it's something I've never seen before, and it was like, this is insanity. I also got to say that I bet they could have made a lot selling that ranch. That ranch is probably worth a lot. Um, no more financial troubles if you just don't have the ranch, in my opinion. But whatever. Um, I digress. Yeah. So literally, I didn't understand if Jupe was planning on him dying with his wife and everybody. I didn't really. I would like to hear from Jordan Peele or company or whoever if Stephen Yeun knew he was going to be taken and that was his last show. Because I easily could have, I thought what he was going to happen was he was going to feed the entire audience. They had the one girl that had her face mauled off. Um, she's in like one shot, and then she gets taken into, like, she had a horrible life. Like, that sucks. Jesus. Um, but yeah, the uneasiness, like showing the slushy machine still roll in, and it's like, oh god, it's horrifying. Um, let me see. Oh, and the recorded playing of Stephen Young being like, all right, the park's closing up, and it's like they're looking around the park several times, and ain't nobody in the park. It's like, oh my Lanta, that always horrifies me. An empty like carnival park always is scary to me for some reason. Don't want to be in there. Okay, so the UFO devours literally everybody except for the horse. Lucky, I believe. Hey. So OJ deduces that the UFO is not a spaceship, but a predatory territorial creature, and it eats anything that looks directly at it. Utilizing similar methods to uh, to those used to break and train horses, OJ believes that they can influence the creature's behavior to capture footage of it without being killed. And when the UFO is in that area, basically and they call it the visitors, I believe, at one point. I'm not sure if that's like canon or anything, but I think Stephen Young calls it the visitors. So without being killed. Okay, so and also the music, everything when the UFO is in the area, it basically acts as an EMP, which causes all sound to go. Grrr. They do that maybe one too many times. It's like grrr, like the music will come back, go back down. Um, I do. They do that a lot. Like just uh, the UFO will show up and then like the lights will cut off, everything turns off, cameras turn off, phones turn off, all that stuff. So when they're trying to capture the picture of this UFO, they got to use a camera that doesn't have or doesn't require power like that. So they got to use an old school one. And my whole thing is I understand that thematically that they want. It's kind of weird that he's like saying Jordan Peele saying we are all obsessed with spectacle. I think he's saying this. We are all obsessed with spectacle, and our main characters are obsessed with spectacle to the point where they are trying to almost die to just get a picture of this UFO. And what I've heard people say is that getting a picture of the UFO is not exactly going to change the minds of millions of people that there's UFO. People would probably just say that it's a Photoshop or something like that, or it's been edited. So is them getting this quote unquote Oprah shot going to really change the minds of millions and millions of people? I think that's kind of uh, one thing. It's one thing to think about. Another thing to think about would be um, that they're willing to almost die to get this. Like they easily could have just left their house, never come back, and end of story. But there is this part of them that is obsessed with getting this shot of the UFO, which I'm not exactly sure that they had set up that they were willing to risk their life. Like, I mean, it's scary when the UFO is in the vicinity. So it's not like I would ever want to put myself back in that position. Um, that would be my main thing. So you kind of have to jump over some leaps of logic that they're willing to put themselves in that position of wanting to, being almost in contact with the UFO again. So let me see what else. So they OJ believes that they can influence the creature's behavior to capture footage of it without being killed. I do think that they should have shown the nature of the UFO just a couple more times to understand that it does have a routine. I don't know if that they had shown enough that this thing clearly is, it has a routine. Like it clearly goes to the same uh, non-moving cloud every time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's only going to suck you up if you look at it or something like that. So, and I don't really understand why it didn't take the horse at that point too, because it seemed like it was taking all organic matter, which it was. I didn't really understand. So after a second attempt at recording footage of the creature, now dubbed uh, Jean Jacket by the Haywoods, um, the three decide to hire Hoist or four assistants. Hoist initially refuses, but considers after news spreads about the missing Jupiter's claims, spectators, and employees. Um, I do feel like Hoist is a little bit what feels like from another movie, or he just, by the ending of what happens to him, it does feel like his plot line is very predictable in my opinion. I feel like he's kind of the expert. He plays like the hunter or something like that, and like Jurassic Park or something like that, when they just have to, they're willing to die for the shot. Now, whether this guy is a director, so he's willing to die for a camera shot, but you think of like uh, was Ahab, Captain Ahab, and Moby Dick. Like he's willing to kill himself so that he gets the whale. That's kind of what it feels like this um, character is. So to circumvent Jean Jacket's effects on electronics, Hoist brings a hand cranked film camera to capture footage. I do got to say, the breaking up of the different chapters didn't exactly feel like it made sense to me as an editing decision. I understand that it kind of felt like act breaks a little bit, but some of the times when they're talking about like, all right, Gordy, all right, Jean Jacket, all right, Jupe, all right, whatever else, um, it just feels like they are there for more like act breaks, and the title sequences don't always have to do with what the title sequence says. Like I feel like sometimes it'll show it and then kind of go off into different parts of the story. So I did feel like it was a little bit unnecessary. I was getting a little bit of Gray Man vibes. I saw Martin Thomas mention that as well, because they did the same thing. It was like every time they were in a new uh location, they were like China, Portugal, Brazil, Italy, New York. It was like, I don't need to know everywhere we're at. If it's not important to the story, Jesus. And I can see where we're at. Um, so anyways, let's bring it back. So they bring a hand cranked camera to capture the footage. I did see it's like a high hand cranked IMAX camera, I believe. Which do they make those? Like this is modern times. So I don't even know if that they made those. Um, but I noticed that because I think this movie was shot with IMAX cameras too. Got a little synergy. The group work out a plan to bait out Jean Jacket and watch a field of scattered tube man props. Tube man, as in like the crazy wackadoodle things that you see at car dealerships and stuff like that, or furniture outlets for some reason. Um, but I thought that was kind of a cool idea. I don't know why they had to use car batteries and steal a whole bunch, or to steal the whole things. But anyways, I guess nobody's in the town or something. I don't know, whatever. Um, but they get the tube men, and they're using the tube men as an indicator of where the UFO is. So when the tube men stop moving and start moving, you can kind of see when they're starting waving, they have power. You can see where the UFO is at the time. So it kind of gives them an indication. So let me see how the Jean Jacket, watch a field grows props as for electrical malfunctions to deduce its location in the sky. As their plan starts, a TMZ reporter trespasses onto the field and is thrown from his electric motorcycle when it shuts down near Jean Jacket. And you're like, what the hell is going on? And you find out that this guy with a reflection mask, I was like, this is a little bit obvious. Is there, and he's just like, he's almost like a prop in the story to say like, oh, here's another guy that's obsessed with getting the shot. When he gets in a motorcycle accident, the first thing he's asking for is this camera. He wants a shot of that, or for some reason it's like, oh my gosh, really? You basically broke your body and all you care about is the camera. And it's like, all right, I get the idea. Jordan Peele's hitting us over the head with obsessed with the spectacle. This guy's willing to almost die on a motorcycle for it. um so OJ rushes, and not to mention that the name of the main character is OJ, and it's brought to the attention of everybody. Talking about like OJ Simpson back in the day, and everyone being obsessed with the spectacle that is OJ. OJ rushes over on horseback, and the reporter begs him to film Jean Jacket as it approaches. Um, he is devoured as OJ flees. Hoist and he can see the UFO is coming up on him, because, well, one, you can fucking hear for one thing, but the reflection in the mask allows him to see where it is. So, and I guess the UFO knows it's being looked at, because even though it has a mask, the reporter has a mask on. It's like, okay. um Let me see. He is devoured by OJ. OJ flees. Hoist and Angel capture footage of Jean Jacket from a nearby hillside, but Hoist unexpectedly jumps from cover and lets himself be eaten along with his camera. And he's just like doing. I thought he was stealing the footage and going to go sell it himself, but no, he was just ready to die for the shot. I was like, all right, there's nothing about this guy that made me think that he was going to commit suicide for this. But I was like, okay, whatever. Um, just have to believe it at that point. And that this was one of the parts I was like, all right, you're just gonna have to suspend disbelief for this. Um, Forcing the remaining three to flee as their plan further ravels. Um, So Angel survives a feeding attempt from Jean Jacket when he is accidentally tethered by a tangle of tarp and barbed wire. It looks terrible getting sucked into this like vacuum tornado of uh this of the UFO, and it this angel guy is wrapped up in barbed wire, and that just sounds like a, a terrible combination. So we don't exactly see all the terrible things that happen to him while he's being sucked up in there and then spit back out, kind of. um but it looks very painful. So the creature unfurls from its saucer shape to a jellyfish like biblical angel form. This is what it says on wiki. And the shift in the transformation of everything that's happening with the UFO is just like, holy shit. It's just like, this is Jean Jacket is like crazy. It's just like a crazy looking UFO thing. And at this point, it's gone from a UFO thing to like an organic creature kind of flying in the air. And I didn't really understand why it was metamorphosizing, I guess, at that point. But it seems that it was in pain ingesting the barbed wire. So um yeah, I was like, okay, so there's a way to hurt it for one thing, but also now we got to worry about this thing just being fucking ginormous and flying all over everybody and making some crazy noises. Um, the da, 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 da. So OJ lures Jean Jacket away from M while she uses the motorcycle to rush to Jupiter's claim. There, M untethers the theme park the theme park's large helium balloon mascot. Jean Jacket approaches the airborne balloon while M uses an attraction's analog camera to photograph it. I thought that was a weird thing to see earlier in the movie, is everybody like looking down this well, and then there's this crank camera that is taking their photo when they look down on the well. um I do feel like some of the things that are set up in the early first part of this film kind of come in a little sloppy on the second part. It's like, all right, so that's definitely coming back. All right, Kiki Palmer just did like a wink at the camera, and she's like, and I'm really good on motorcycles. Wink. It's like, all right, some of these things that are seeded in early almost directly correlated to it, to the point where it's like, all right, so motorcycles are coming back, this camera's coming back, this monkey's coming. The monkey didn't come back, but I still thought, like, I was like, could be seated a little bit better, just written better into the story, I think. But I did like how the coins were kind of a motif throughout the movie. Their father was killed with a coin. They used a coin to take the photo of the jean jacket in the air, all that stuff. Um, so Jean Jacket approaches the airborne balloon while M uses an attraction analog camera to photograph it. Jean Jacket attempts to feed on the balloon, and it's like this giant, like, shing, like looking Steven Yeun or something like that. And someone said it looked like Steven Yeun. I don't know. It looks like a cartoon to me. But so Jean Jacket attempts to feed on the balloon, but it explodes, seemingly killing the creature, with the picture as proof of the creature's existence. And reporters assembling at the theme park's entrance. OJ arrives on the other side with his horse, having survived the encounter with Jean Jacket. Um, and there is some beautiful ass cinematography of OJ on the horse running away from the UFO. I'm always a sucker for cowboys and aliens, and I know this wasn't like a back in the day kind of cowboys, but I was still super down for this. And so I was like, I thought the ending was was very good. Like I said, some of the stuff that is seeded early in the movie doesn't always exactly come back naturally and it flows naturally, but there's the evolution of Jean Jacket changing into what I heard someone say. I think Double Toasted said that Jean Jacket starts to evolve different forms. It goes from like a UFO to like this like sprawling, sprawling kind of butterfly angelic look to what looks like the lens of a camera almost is like changing and doing all these or geometrical origami type shapes looking and whatnot. So I was just like, this is unlike anything I've ever seen before. So I was totally down for this movie. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Performances were off the chain. The emotional parts were a little bit lacking in some parts. I thought I could have had a little bit more from Otis Jr., but it's not the performances. It was more or less the writing that they gave him. They didn't really um, I didn't feel like they progressed his emotional state that much, but I think Kiki Palmer plays, the young, hip, spry Haywood, and Otis Jr. kind of plays the older, more melancholy role of this film, and Steven Yeun just knocks it out of the park. He like unlocks a new level of his acting career for this. He's perfectly kind of he feels a little bit like the Waco guy, the David, what's his face? Waco series. It's like the cult member, David Koresh. He felt a little bit like the David, sorry, David. Yeah, David Koresh um character. He kind of just felt like he was like obsessed with this thing. And so I was like, I definitely believe it. No doubt. So yeah, I was floored by this movie. I'll talk a little bit more about the behind the scenes, but let me know what you thought about the movie. Let me know what you thought about the review. LuckyDogPodcast.com. Talk to me in the descriptions. Talk to me and sorry, find the links in the description. Talk to me in the comments. You know what to do. Let me talk a little bit about the production and development. On October 1st, 2019, Universal Pictures announced a 5-year exclusive production partnership with Peel's Monkey Paw Production. Note then an untitled project was then announced in November 9, 2020. Peel set to write, direct, produce. He said, I wrote in a time when we were a little bit worried about the future of cinema. So the first thing I knew is I wanted to create a spectacle. I wanted to create something that the audiences would have to come see. Speaking to GQ, Peel stated so much of the world was experiencing was this overload of spectacle and kind of a low point of our addiction to spectacle. Peel added that he wrote the film trapped inside. So I knew I wanted to make something that was about the sky. I knew the world would want to be outside. And at the same time, I knew knew this newfound fear from this trauma, from this time of what it meant to go outside. Can we go outside? So I slipped some of that stuff in, and that's pretty interesting. I definitely feel like this movie feels very airy and free. I don't feel claustrophobic in this movie. Claustrophobia, oh, with the exception of when they're being sucked into the spectacle of the jean jacket. But yeah, that's pretty horrifying. And I guess it is a little bit of an allegory for what we just went through of the pandemic, being sucked into that versus being inside, outside kind of thing. It's interesting how he talks about this. Peel publicly cited King Kong and Jurassic Park movies about the human's addiction to spectacle, along with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Signs, and The Wizard of Oz as influences in his writing, but later identified Angels of Genesis Evangelion as the principal inspiration for the film's premise and monster in the film's production notes. Impressed by the hyper minimalism and biomechanical design flair, the Sahakel, the 10th angel, he explained his decision to include a major focus on clouds in the film. The beauty of the sky is enthralling. The first movies, in a way, every now sorry, the first movies in a way. Every now and then you'll see a cloud that sits alone and is too low and gives me this vertigo and this sense of presence with a capital P. I can't describe it, but I knew if I could bottle that up and put it into a horror movie, it might change the way people look at the sky. Peele originally wrote the character Angel Torres as a happy-go-lucky, geek-like character until Brandon Perea was cast as a character who wanted to expand upon and portray him as more grounded. And I got to say that this character feels so much like a Dave Franco piece. If Brandon Perea wasn't here, it would be Dave Franco. That's all I saw the whole time. It also took several rewrites in order for Pereira to convince Peele and the Universal executives to change the character's fate in the film's climax from being killed by Jean Jacket to surviving the entire ordeal, saying, "There's no way the story's over in my head. There's no way for how heroic everything kind of seemed at the end. Like there's no way they leave the heroes like this. This is just the start of something new." I kind of I applaud Brandon Perea for putting his foot down on that character, and it makes sense why he lives, but he still gets quote unquote cut up and like literally in the movie. In February 2021, it was reported Palmer and Kaluuya had joined the cast, while Jesse Plemons had turned it down in favor of starring in Killers of the Flower Moon instead. Peele wrote the script with Kaluuya in mind for the role of O.J. Haywood, and March Stephen Young was added to the cast. Um, Principal photography took place in Agua Dulce Desert in northern LA County. The production received an estimated 8.3 million worth of tax credits to shoot the film in the state of California. The film was shot on a budget of 68 million after incentives, and it was the first to employ trainees, in this case six, from Universal Filmed Entertainment Group's California Below the Line traineeship, the individuals seeking careers behind the camera. Um, Nope was shot by cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema using a Kodak film using 65 millimeter film in IMAX, making it the first horror film to be shot in this format. July 22nd, 2021, Peele revealed that the film's title and shared its promotional release poster. Further castings were confirmed. Peele chose Nope as the title because he wanted to acknowledge the movie's audiences and expectations, reactions to the film. And he said, however, that he had considered titling the film Little Green Men to reference a theme in the film about humanity's monetization of spectacle. Um, Filming also took place at the Burbank, California location of Fry's Electronics, which had closed along with the remaining of Fry's locations several weeks before filming. The store was recreated in its operating state for filming. In 1972, Western film Buck and the Preacher, starring Sidney Poitier, is featured throughout the film. Peele said it was the first film that I was the first film that I know of that had black cowboys represented in it. The myth that cowboys were just white guys running around is not true, but we don't know that because of Hollywood and the romanticized view of a very brutalized era. The film and it shares the film it shares a spirit. For her introductory scene, which also opens the film's trailer, Palmer shot 14 takes of Emerald's monologue about her and OJ's family history, which initially was not in the script prior to principal photography. Peele described each take as very wildly different, uncuttably. So, just a tour de force, one of these things where you see somebody like, I'm going to make this choice this time and go for it. There's improv in there. Cal professor John O. Debris collaborated with Peel and his team on the design of Jean Jacket's creatures UFOs form, and a particular its final form, biblical angel form, which was inspired by those of Neon Genesis Evangelion and the sea creatures such as jellyfish, octopi, and squid. To imagine a hypothetical undiscovered previously extinct sky predator, realistically imagining how could something like hide in the clouds with its ability to generate an electric field, taking the electric eels and ghost knife fish, um, allowing for electric propulsion. Um, yeah, I was very much floored by it. Let me see if there's anything else we want to talk about. Um, the film score was composed by Michael Abels, who's worked with Peele before on Get Out and Us. Abels described his score as having to meet the threat level, quote unquote, threat level described by Peele in the script and the ideas imposed by the film's iconic quote, "What's a bad miracle?" I thought that was a great line. He added that the music needs to have both those senses together, both a little bit of sense of awe, like we would have looking at the Grand Canyon, but then the urge to run away from the Grand Canyon because falling in would not be good. That's the dichotomy that that is present in the film. You will hear a sense of a little bit of awe and magic, and then there's sheer terror. But then there's also a sheer sense of epic adventure towards the end and giant music that accompanies a giant historic adventure. Abels worked with the film's designer, Johnny Byrne, to merge some of the score's cues involving the experimentation of strings and bass with the sound work done on the scenes with Jean Jacket's creature. He also felt the use of silence played an important role in the film, saying that the tension between negative space and the music is actually part of the music. Leaving room for the sound design, which even when there's a cue playing, was an important part of a way that I approached it. A lot of times in the scariest parts, especially in the early parts of the film, you're listening to uh, what you hope you're not going to hear, or what you thought you might have heard. The stillness allows you to freak out in that way. And so, yeah, and of course, they use a soundtrack album with backlot music, 2022, and the score album, Corey Hart's Sunglasses at Night. I wear my sunglasses at night. And then a couple other songs as well. You know, the film's features Walk On By and This Generation's Lost by the Lost Generation. So, um, yeah, tons of interesting stuff behind the scenes to learn about, you know, all the different uh, things that, all the pieces of content that this movie was influenced by, the kind of historical facts behind it, everything that most of my questions all revolve around Gordy. What is the purpose of showing so much Gordy? Um, was it just strictly to kind of, you know, say this, he freaked out about the spectacle, or is there more than that? You know, I would like to know maybe what you all think in the comments. Let me know what you think about the review. Let me know what you think about Nope. If you have more you'd like to talk about in the comments, please hop in the comments and you know what to do. Leave a comment, thumbs up, subscribe. You know what to do to support the podcast. Um, and again, thank you for listening, watching Lug It Out Podcast. Take it easy.